bringing you the latest news from Coronado Athletics. This is the Mustang Fan Zone podcast from 100.7 The Score.
Welcome back in. We are back in the Westerner Fan Zone. As you can see, the clientele have changed up here, and I teased it a couple times. Can I go ahead and call you new Lubbock High assistant coach?
You can. Monique, it's official.
And I think we talked about it that night. I don't know if there's ever been a full-time female assistant coach in boys basketball in Lubbock ISD, but I put this on Facebook. I'm a two-time girl dad, and I told Kevon this. When a female is put in place and it's still a kind of a new thing, that's cool to me. I'm very proud of Lubbock High, LISD, Jose, you guys. You came on during the season and you talked about how it was comfortable. When you and Jose talked about this becoming a permanent thing, how excited were you?
I'm pretty excited. It was one of those decisions that, of course, I didn't take lightly. Mm-hmm. I know the responsibility that comes with this job. I've been a high school coach before. I've done middle school before, and so I know what that life is like. And so it's a big sacrifice for my family and, just getting back into it. But I am so excited to return, of course, to Lubbock High, where I played basketball. But it's been a blessing to be able to get to join them halfway through the season, because I learned a ton from them already. And so I'm looking forward to, continuing that growth that we see with our teams.
I'm going to tell a secret on Jose. He said he learned from you, too.
Oh, wow.
So,
we keep each other in check. I think that all three of us, I think we mesh really well. And I think we have become so comfortable with each other to make sure that we're doing what we need to do and the right thing and, those sorts of things. So I've enjoyed learning from both of them as well.
And I just found out there's a new dynamic. You're coming to coach, but you've got an attachment there already or a connection there already.
I do. I have my son, Sebastian. He was a freshman this year. He got to start off on the freshman team and be coached by Coach Hargrove, which, of course, was amazing. And when conversations were being had about him moving up, I'll be the first to say I was not excited about that. I said, absolutely not. He's not ready, but they, said he's ready. And so I said, all right, let's give it a shot. But he did really well on JV this year, so super proud of him.
You ready for your moment here, Sebastian?
I guess so.
So I'm married to a teacher, and her mom was a teacher in a small town, and so she had to have mom in the classroom. And they talk all the time about those few years. She couldn't call her mom at school. It had to be Mrs. Hall. You're taking that up a whole different level. You're going to have mom coaching you. Have you all discussed yet? Is it going to be, Mom, what do I need to do here, or coach?
Well, already it's been a tough adjustment for me, calling her Coach Mo or Coach Blanco. Coach Hargrove's actually been winging on me that I need to start calling her Coach Mo because I've been calling her Mom a lot. Still need to get used to that. But yeah, I'm excited to have her on the coaching staff full time this year, and I learned a lot from her last year.
Because the other side of that is you're going to have teammates coming up to you and saying, "Why's your mom picking on me? Why's your mom coaching me hard?" Not that she will, but you're going to have to be a politician too. Oh,
for sure. I've already had those conversations last year, but I'm always on her side no matter what she does.
That's a good son right there.
Just doing whatever she pleases, and it's always in God's plan.
So same thing for you. I'm going to assume you coached. Is he your oldest?
He's my oldest.
So he's
my oldest.
This is a different dynamic. You're bringing a different dynamic. Have you kind of prepared mentally for when you're coaching him, what that's going to be like?
Oh, yes. So he got moved up to JV, and my role this year was to help JV.
Okay.
And so I got to coach him this past year, and there were some heated moments where, we had to both, understand that I'm coach at this time and I'm mom at this time. And so, we had conversations at home, and we may have had conversations in public, and I'm not your mom right now, I'm your coach. And so we learn real quickly in my house that's how it is.
You heard us talking. One of the more prominent coaches in Lubbock, Brad Crow, Lubbock Christian, coached his daughters And they both told me there had to be an understanding when coaching stopped and pairing began again, and sometimes it gets blurry a little bit. Now, I think it helps that you're coaching with Jose as well, because Yvonne and I talked about it. He coached him more than 3 years, I think. I think he coached him middle school, too.
Mm-hmm. I think he was his AAU coach, or travel ball coach, before he got to high school. And then I think he coached him for the last 3 years of Estacada.
So you've got something else you can pick a brain about. So we're going to get these coaches back on soon in August when we get back going again. So we'll come back in the Mustang Fan Zone after this on 100.7 The Score.
Bringing you the latest news from Coronado Athletics. This is the Mustang Fan Zone podcast from 100.7 The Score.
Welcome back in. This is the Mustang Fan Zone. I didn't give a whole lot of details here. Coronado finished third in District 3 5A. Amarillo High and Lubbock Cooper tied for the district championship. Coronado was 11-5. Mm-hmm. Monterey was a game behind. The reason I mentioned that to Brad about not getting swept, they've gone through 2 district seasons now where they had not lost 2 games to the same district opponent. We were just talking about this. They are the only team in District 3 5A this season that beat Amarillo High and Lubbock Cooper both. They beat each other, but Coronado's the only other team. There's a lot to hang your hat on, and we didn't talk about this. I wanted to make sure you played most of the season without one of the best pitchers in Lubbock, Texas, in Graham Harden, who struggled with some soreness and some kind of, I don't know if you want to call it an injury. Injury to me means somewhere you just he was just a kid who couldn't get back out there. So I'll say this again. I don't know if you went to church more last year, because last year you avoided that.
Yeah.
The 2 years
3 out of 4 years
that.
we've lost somebody. It's I don't know what I'm doing wrong.
If there's a silver lining, you lost him early enough where guys understood, I've got a role, I've got to do this. And I thought your guys filled their roles very well all season long.
Yeah, I think it gave us a chance to kind of, lock guys into spots. And I mean, a bunch of guys stepped up on the mound. We knew Matt Garcia was going to be a dude for us, and he was. But, we were expecting Graham to be that number 2 guy, and so, or not necessarily number 2, but our other starter. And so we had to move Grayson Dunnigan up into that spot, and Grayson goes 5-1 in district for us, and just eats up a ton of innings and gave us everything he had. And so then Cooper Shields has to move up behind him and start some games on those 3-game weeks and coming out of the bullpen some. And then Jackson Vasquez has to kind of slide into the closer role. And so you're right, it took everybody moving up a spot. And I thought those kids did a really admirable job and gave us everything they had. And like I said, if you told me we were going to lose Graham and he wasn't going to throw a pitch in district for us and we'd still be 11-5, I'd have taken that in a heartbeat.
You mentioned Grayson. Grayson's a great example of a high school kid. We were just talking about the 2019 Monterey. He's kind of the equivalent of the Jaden Guerrero kid that I don't think that young man had pitched much varsity. Yeah. And they had an injury situation very similar to what you had, a front line guy who couldn't pitch, and they had to move him into that role, and he figured it out just like Grayson did. I saw Grayson throw really well, saw him get beat a couple times, but it's like you said, he was going to go out. You didn't have to say, please throw hard, or please do your best, because you knew once you handed him the ball, he was
he's a really competitive kid, and I'm happy for him that he had some success this year for sure.
You mentioned you had a lot of kids. We're not going to run through the list you're losing. Let's talk about the ones you have coming back. Grayson, or I'm sorry, his name just escaped me. We were just talking about
Graham.
Yeah. Graham, you assume he'll be back. Ready to go.
I think we'll be really, really good on the mound next year. Get Graham healthy and Jackson Vasquez coming back. And then we've got 3 JV kids that are all left-handed that we're going to bring up and plug into the fire. And so I think between those 5, we're going to be really good on the mound. And then we've got all 3 of our kids that played second base for us this year coming back, Ethan Tobias and Ozzie Sanchez and Justin Lara. And so we got to figure out kind of where to parcel those guys and maybe move some guys around, and then hopefully 2 or 3 guys step up and become position players for us, and I think we'll have a shot. But I do think we're going to be really good on the mound. And, out of the three areas, if there's one that you want to feel good about at this point, that's probably the one you want to feel good about. So.
Especially when they throw it from the south side.
Right, yeah. I mean, it's really cool to see a bunch of lefties out there. We've never had that up until this year, and then now we kind of get to extend it a little bit. So I'm pretty fired up about that.
And you mentioned three infielders. I've never known a teenage kid who had to twist his arm to say, "Why don't you try shortstop?"
Yeah. We'll see where those guys fit for sure.
That's the quarterback position almost, because there's not as much pressure as being a pitcher. And I was a catcher. Hey, chicks dig catchers, so and I tell them that all the time. So I told my wife I wish she'd have known me when I was younger. So I'm going to guess on this. You mentioned that guys evolved and developed on the JV. I know who you coached under as you were growing up, and I know the coaches around here and what you've watched in this area. That's important to have kids who can play on the JV level and don't come up on varsity and just sit and cheerlead.
Right.
There's guys that's okay for. But getting those guys JV innings is important.
Yeah, and we've had that discussion a lot with our kids, especially at the beginning of the year when you kind of decide who's going to be where. A lot of our juniors and even some of our sophomores, I sit them down and talk to them, and I say, look, you might be the next guy, if somebody gets hurt or if we need an arm or if something like that, but it doesn't do us any good if you're sitting on the bench and not getting game experience and not staying, in a routine and stuff like that. And so you kind of have to be a little bit of a psychologist there and talk to them, because everybody wants to be on the varsity, and I don't blame them. That's the ultimate goal. But when you're running a program, you've got to think big picture. And so we've done that the last couple of years and probably let some kids down on the JV that maybe could have spotted for us and helped us in some places and all that. But I think we've seen the fruits of that when guys are ready to go the next year. And so we're going to need a lot of that next year because we're losing a lot.
My favorite example of all time will be two starters for Lubbock Cooper's girls basketball team that was about 3 plays away from winning a state championship, had never played a varsity minute until their senior year. Yeah. And then they almost walked away with one of those nice gold medals around their neck. So I don't know if kids listen to me or if it's more adults, but I hope they heard what you said.
Absolutely.
That time is important, even if it's not. Who's your JV coach?
Coach Marsh does the JV.
Okay. So I'm going to guess he's.
And we all do. I mean, we work everybody top to bottom, and we're always there and always involved in it. So.
And I will tell you that parents understand the value of that too. They may not always agree with who's where, but I think they understand. They'd rather see their sons play than not.
Yeah, for sure.
Brad Bibb he's one of the good guys in town. I've met a lot of. I don't have to say your name very often and find people say, "Oh yeah, Brad's great."
I appreciate that. And
he's also got a baseball program that went through a little bit of a. I'll say this: Gary Hicks is listening. He might get mad. The dip began a little bit that year. His last year, you had great players, but you could sense that there was going to be a little bit of rebuilding. But you've restored something at Coronado at a time when it's been a little bit of a struggle at Coronado and other things. So I'm proud of you. I'm happy for you guys that you've gotten that back. So
thanks. I appreciate it.
We'll talk next. We'll talk more baseball when we come back in the Tiger Fan Zone with Chad Reynolds, whose team is in the area round starting tomorrow on the Tiger Fan Zone on 100.7 The Score.